All right, day 172 going live. Today I got Ben. Ben, man, introduce yourself. Who are you? You're part of the
Yep,
community.
my name's Ben, high school student. Um, Looking forward to being done in 2 to 3 months. I got a business partner who's gonna help me raise some money, and yeah, we're looking to buy a lot of Section 8. This is one of the properties we've kind of come across, um, and yeah, we thought maybe this could be a pretty good deal. Doesn't seem to really require that much work. They're already generating some rent, um, and then after that, we could put some Section 8 tenants in. Yeah, but yeah,
Cool.
really, really, I'm the actually one. My friend is the youngest, but I'm the second youngest member of CT RIA, which is our local investors association. So I was actually there on Monday. Really enjoyed going to those, meeting a lot of people, making a lot of connections.
Nice. Good you, man. Getting started young. I love it, man. For full disclosure, this is not an investment advice. This is all for entertainment purposes only. Ben and I are just having fun analyzing some deals together. It's not investment advice. We're not soliciting any investments. All right. So, Ben, you were doing a little window shopping. You found this property in Rochester. So we said, hey, how do we turn this? What might the projected cash flow look like on this property? So we can get the FMR, but I went ahead and just Googled really quick so the audience is looking. I Googled Rochester, New York Housing Authority 2024 payment series. This thing popped up, and then this PDF popped up, and I brought it right here. Now, the first thing I would do for me personally is I just like to do a quick street view. I try to gauge the general vibe of the neighborhood. Are you familiar with Rochester? You ever been there before, Ben?
No, I haven't. Or
Okay.
doing out of state.
Okay. So you're gonna require some property managers. Probably have you called any property managers here yet? See what they think about the
Yes,
neighborhood. Okay. What do they think?
yes, Zona Properties.
And what did they say about the neighborhood or anything like that around here?
Oh, I actually have a meeting booked with them. I believe they charge like 10% a month in rent,
Hmm.
but that was on their website.
Okay. So just be careful about this neighborhood. I mean, I don't know anything about it. So I would always
Yeah.
ask a realtor, I always ask a GC, I would ask a property manager. Something that I worry about is I've literally met property managers when I was in St. Louis that said, hey, I don't want to go out to this area, North County of St. Louis, because it's so crime ridden. I've known fix and flippers who were out there that literally said they got shot at while they're doing it. I don't like that there's a boarded up home with a bunch of alcohol bottles on the floor right behind your
Yeah.
home, but it's not something for you to ask about. And the reason I bring this up is because eventually someone's going to require repair at your home. And if your home is in a neighborhood that people don't want to go to, you're going to be in trouble. Just be a little
Yeah.
careful with that. I'm not making any assumptions about that.
Okay.
That's
No, that's a good point.
that's
Good to
why
know.
you want to just be a little bit careful because if someone, let's say your partner says, hey, why do you think this is a deal? They do this quick street buy and they see all these boarded up homes nearby. He's going to be like, this is really a desirable neighborhood. Are we just chasing cash, but we're going to have a lot of problems? Just something for you to think about to keep the
Okay.
conversation balanced, right? So this home is, let's look at the condition of the home. Uh, the flooring looks fine. Maybe you refinish it, but you don't need to replace the flooring. I would definitely set aside money to paint every single square foot. I would probably replace the bathroom, to be honest with you. And I'm assuming you're not thinking about finishing an attic here, so maybe that's fine to leave as is. But it looks like it's just storage here. Nothing like some alcohol bottles right on top of the ceiling. Why? Why don't you just throw it in the trash? I don't get it. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's that. Now I want to go ahead and get let me first get the market rent. So this is affordablehousing.com. Go into the owner section, market rent estimator, get the 3 bedroom count. And I got an average rent of 1280 per 3 bedroom unit for 25 units within a 0.58 mile radius. Okay. Now I'm going to look at the payment standards. So your zip code was, just for the audience watching, 14621. Rochester determines all of their rents based off of a percentage of small area FMR. So For the audience that's been watching past couple of lives, what we typically do is we go to HUD FMR, we look for the small area FMR, which are these numbers, right? They're by zip code, by bedroom count. However, this is a very great example of it. Rochester Housing Authority says, hey, for all the other zip codes that are not here, generally this is the rent that you see, and they call it the tier one. You can see that in tier two, in tier three, they start adjusting upwards or something like that. So not sure why they made that decision, but sometimes your local housing authority just understands that a little bit better. So they say your maximum payment standards, and payment standards includes utilities, is $18.95. And Ben, you said you are going to have the tenants pay their own electric, right?
Yeah, so then we should just do the small area FMR because this basically the small area FMR plus utilities is going to equal the payment standard, correct?
Uh, Not necessarily. It's more of the payment standards includes utilities, and then if you don't provide utilities, you start subtracting. Like let's say you are in a duplex and you use natural gas for heating in your property. So your ceiling, quote unquote, starts at $18.95, and you subtract $71 for not providing gas. You
Yeah,
subtract
heating features
$8 for
gas.
natural gas. Gas, okay, so you subtract $8 for cooking, and then you subtract $10 for water heating, and then you subtract $58 for not providing any other electric. You subtract $41 for not covering water. You subtract $23 for not providing sewer. You subtract $38 for not providing trash.
All right, you mind running through that one more time? I got my calculator out. So 1895 minus.
Yeah, let's go ahead and let's do it
Oh,
together, Ben.
boom, sweet.
All right, you have 1895. 1895. So you're not going to provide natural gas, which is $71 for heating, because this is a duplex, right? They actually classify right here in the
Yep.
utility allowances. Then you are going to be, because that was heating. Okay. And then for 3 bedroom right here, this is the line I want to follow just so the audience sees it. For 3 bedroom, your natural gas is going to be -8. Your water heating, natural gas is -10, based off of what you're telling me is natural gas heating. I'm not going to provide electricity, it's -58. Not going to
Yeah, it just
provide
says under
water.
heating on Zillow,
Okay.
gas, comma forced air.
Okay. -41 for water, -$23 for not providing sewer, -38 for not providing trash, -6 for not providing a stove range, -6 for not providing a refrigerator. So that's going to equal a maximum rent of 1634. Cool. So that's your rent ceiling, in my opinion, without utilities. But again, go back to the rent reasonableness. I think you're right. 1280, when you compare 1280 to that number of 1634, I would probably use 1280 as a rent for each side on this property.
Okay. And then you don't. Then I can erase my utility budget. Then right?
Correct. That's what I would do.
Yeah, because I basically the columns I have are the purchase price, the rent, the management, the property tax, the home insurance, the utilities, the cost of capital on that money, and then I just have cash flow and rate of return. Um.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just going to go a little bit deeper with you today. Let me see if I can find a 3 bedroom for rent as a duplex. As part of a duplex. 3 bed, 1 bath, 1,000. 3 bed, 1 bath, 1,000. 3 bed, 1 bath, 1,200. 3 bed, 1 bath, 1,150. 3 bed, 1 bath. This looks like a single family home. Okay. So all I would say, Ben, is we have a average rent of 1280, right?
Hmm.
So that's average. If you want to get really, really granular and you're like, hey, I really love this deal. Sometimes what I do is I simply go to Zillow and I try to figure out, hey, within the zip code, what am I looking at in terms of actual properties being rented out today that's on the market in case anyone pushes back? Because I have no idea how the housing authority is going to determine rent reasonableness, right? We don't know that yet, but generally there's a number. So if you see that this property was posted 15 days ago for $1,000, They have any contacts yet? I don't think they're listing out how many contacts there are. Okay. I just want to see how long have these properties been on the market for. So this is the general condition of the home. So if you want to be able to make $1,000, your property has to at least look like this, if not better, right? Because the housing authority is going to look at it and say, hey, is your property comparable to other properties? 1191. They don't have the. That's pretty good right here. It's been listed for 55 days and there's been 180 contacts about this property. That tells me this is probably underpriced. So 1200 feels pretty good if you can get your home to look like this condition at the very minimum.
That's in a little better condition than the 43 down Main Street, I think.
Absolutely. So if you have to renovate it and you're trying to get 1200, this is probably the standard you want to get it to because now you actually have math, right? And if you were to say and go to a contractor, they're gonna be like, "What do you want, Ben?" Well, you can say, "Hey, I want my apartment to look like this apartment because this apartment is getting 1200." So that when you go to the housing authority and provide your business case for why you want to charge 1200 bucks, you can give them this apartment because I'm assuming this property is going to get rented soon. Because if you list it for 55 days, there's 100 contacts, like either significant demand or somebody saw something about the home and they still didn't like it because I don't know why it's been listed for 55 days and someone still hasn't moved in yet.
Oh,
That's
that
my
is an
question.
affordable housing property. It says affordable housing.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what's going on, but this is just part of your market research as you look through it.
Yeah.
6 days, 48 contacts. So lots of demand here at the 1150 number, right? You only been listed for 6 days and 50 people called you about it and 19 people applied for it. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna use 1200 bucks for this property as just a rental. 1 second. Let me share. Let me pull up my Excel spreadsheet here.
But it's kind of crazy how in some parts of the country you can basically find properties for under 100 grand and cash flow like 1,000 a month on them. I mean that's ridiculous, especially with Section 8, where one of the benefits, though, what I like about that is that there's not a ton of guesswork how much you can get in rent. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the payments are always going to keep coming by the government. Those are some of the benefits, just to name a few. Um, but I mean, obviously, you probably know way more investors than I do. Have you kind of seen the stigma against renting to Section 8 tenants? Have you kind of seen that decline, or what are your thoughts on it?
No, I don't think the stigma is decline. I think that's why I started a podcast is to educate people on what it means to be successful. I mean, there are concerns, right? If there sometimes there's a reason why your houses are so low. It's either in a undesirable neighborhood, like in this scenario, you have some 1 out of 10 schools, right? Is a single mom gonna want to put her kids in a 1 out of 10? I'm not sure, right? And sometimes we think people stay very long in Section 8, and that's a fact if you have a great product. But if they're gonna leave every year or 2 years because they're shooting across the street or there are drunks walking around the neighborhood all the time because we saw so many liquor bottles, is that an
Yep.
area where you would live, right? So that's where your expenses can quickly get out of control. But that's why we can like just go through the scenarios, right? So for this property, it's 1904 square feet. So let's just assume you got to do a whole rehab. Like let's just play it out. 1,500 bucks. I don't know what the condition of the roof is, so let's just put at least if you had to replace the whole roof, it's probably gonna be like 10 grand. Like let's just go
Okay.
worst case scenario right now. Right? Let's do 12 grand. Let's do. I'm not gonna paint the exterior. You're probably okay with just no curb appeal. 500 bucks to clean up the landscaping. We're gonna paint the entire place at 1904 square feet. And let's say you get in there and the floor is really, really bad and you got to replace everything because they were leaking everything. So you got 1904 new flooring for an entire home. That's pretty expensive rehab. And I think we said we're gonna renovate 2 bathrooms. Let's say you do that at 8 grand a piece. So that gives you a total of 60 grand rehab. That's really high for a $69,000 home, to be honest with you.
Mm.
So you might look at it and say, hey, that's not even worth it, right? But let's just
Yeah,
play it
because
out for now. Go ahead.
yeah, I saw both units were already rented, so I kind of inferred the condition may have been pretty solid. Um, but yeah, I mean that 60,000 for an $89,000 house is wow.
Depends on
That's
it depends on the condition of the home, right? Let's say you half it, right? Let's say you half the amount of flooring needed. I think you're gonna repaint the entire house. So I don't think you're getting away from $3 a square foot. But you just do flooring for half the property, you're still at roughly around 50 grand. Okay. If you say, hey, the roof is completely okay, and I just need to do like a little patchwork in there, now you're at 37 grand. Okay. Maybe that's a little bit more reasonable for you, right?
ideally we really don't want to be doing any. We just kind of want to be buying turnkey. I mean, we understand that there's going to be some instances where we're going to have to do some repairs. We're not opposed to that. Um, but yeah,
Well,
the
you got to
kind of
think
the
about
goal
what
is
you're attracting, the type of people you're
yeah.
attracting, right? If you provide a great product out there, are you going to attract the type of person that's going to leave like empty liquor bottles in your attic,
No,
which is what we
no,
saw in the
absolutely.
photos? If you leave it as is, that's the type of people you might attract, right?
Mm.
So you have to make a decision. Okay, if I don't renovate this to be as nice as, and let's say it's only a 10 grand rehab, what if they don't pay rent?
Or their portion.
Yeah, what if they don't pay their portion of the rent?
No. Then we'd have to factor that in when we get the when the housing authority when they would show us like how much the tenant would pay. We would have to budget to make sure if the tenant didn't pay, we'd still be cash flow positive. So
Correct.
that's something we're going to have to factor into every tenant,
Yeah. And I
every tenant
know,
application.
yeah, I've literally had people that came onto the podcast and say, hey, they're pulling out of Memphis because their air conditioner units keeps getting stolen. Their appliances keep getting stolen whenever they do it. So think about those scenarios, right? You are in a pretty high crime area, 147, and the
Which website is that? Top.
top hap, tophap.com.
Okay.
Yeah. 147 is not somewhere I would bring my daughter around.
Yeah. What's kind of the average? Like, what does it go up to?
It goes up to like 160, I think.
Oh, yeah. Huh.
So
Well,
just
what
think
are some
about it, right?
other? Yeah. Yeah, we will. Yeah, I found a couple other properties in Rochester. I've seen good stuff like St. Louis, even like Memphis. Like at least from a cash flow perspective, we definitely want to also make sure we have properties that
Yeah.
are in decent condition. Um, so yeah, this is one of the ways our company is gonna be making money. We're also thinking about doing some Airbnbs, um, and like the Outer Banks. So we'll at least get some appreciation. We don't think that like the town or the county is going to come in and kick us out of there if we have Airbnb. But yeah,
All
no,
right.
the
Well,
crime score is definitely really high.
honestly, it's a little concerning for me. I mean, I wouldn't want to live
Yeah,
there. But it's everybody has their own strategy. I'm not criticizing or judging. I'm simply
yeah, no
sharing
problem.
with you, hey, when you look at these properties, the underwriting assumptions need to add up. If you're telling me this is going to be a 3% vacancy in that neighborhood, I would seriously doubt those assumptions. Even at 8%, that's roughly around like someone moving out like once every 2 years. That might even be low, right? Someone might get in there like, oh, I can't wait to get out of here. I don't know. And you will probably get better statistics from your property management company. One, on whether or not they're going to get people out there. Two, how they're going to screen their tenants. And three, like what type of person, what kind of checks do they put in place for the residents, right? And if they not willing to have, if they don't have any handyman that's willing to go out there to do a job, that's a clear red flag. So no HOA.
Yeah,
I got 10% for maintenance. I think that's the minimum you should set aside for maintenance on this property. Do you know what the property management fee is? Is it 10%, 8%, 12? What does it
and
look like for
yep,
you? 10?
yep.
10. Okay. 10%. What's the property taxes on this one? 212. $33 for insurance. So at least bump that up to $50. That seems really low. All right, 25%. And then we got a finance amount. Let's just assume we're going to refi this at, you said 12, you say you're going to get a loan for 12% on this property?
Well, we'd be raising because since we're trying to get our proof of concept started, basically our
Okay.
first two properties would have to be pretty high because it's we don't actually have a track record right now. We're still trying to get our first. So it
Mm-hmm.
well, the actual payment, since it's going to be simple interest, the payment every month is going to be 1% of the purchase price.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be on an $89,000 property. It should be $890 a month.
So you're going to get 100% financing for this property
Yeah.
based off, okay, so 0% down then at 12% interest rate. Let's say you got to come out of your pocket for $37,000 to renovate the property. That still give you $550 of cash flow a month, assuming you're financing this 100% at $89,000.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, let's say you finance even the renovation portion, 37,593. Let's say you have no capital of your own, and this was also financed at 12%. 30, 4, 1, 2024. 1, 2024. Then you'd be cash flowing $163 a month if you borrowed everything, assuming you don't have like $2,300 of closing costs.
Yeah. What do you think closing costs are usually on like properties around 100K?
Oh, probably more to be honest with you. I'm guessing at least 4K because you got to do an inspection. An inspection is probably cost you about five. Let's just call it $1,000, and then you got some closing costs. I'm not sure what you're doing for your lenders to secure them. Are you going to create a promissory note, something like that? If you had to create a promissory note, a deed of trust for the lien, that probably cost you about $500 or something like that.
Mhm.
And you probably got to pay a title company. So like 4 or 5 grand, you're probably going to be pretty safe. I mean, I can change it up to 4% for you because you're not
All
going to be
right.
financing that. The great return. It's just like if you finance everything, your margins on a monthly basis is going to be very low, right? Or do you have like 30 grand to renovate the property or anything like that?
We could definitely raise that. No
Okay,
problem.
if you raise that at 12%, then there's not much left because of how much debt you have, right? But still a great
Yeah.
return because of how little capital you put into the deal. But maybe that's what you settle
Yeah.
with. Now, here's your risk, right? What if for some reason someone, let's say you're setting aside $240 a month for repairs, but what if someone just breaks in one day and just like steals your stuff and now you're out $1,000, right? Then your entire
Mhm.
years of cash flow will be out because you're in a bad neighborhood, right?
Mhm.
And let's just say your tenant moves out right after a year, like,
That
or
could
they
be
try
like a
to
month or
leave
two of
it.
vacancy.
Yeah, probably like an 8, like 10% vacancy max.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you'd be at
But
like $100, but I think 8% is a pretty good vacancy amount. Like they're basically moving once every 2 years.
okay, I mean, I definitely didn't anticipate around like 37,000 to finish this. Mainly because there's
I don't think you might not need it. You just gotta
yeah,
decide who you are and what's your strategy.
yeah. We don't want to be slumlords, so we may have to furnish it a bit. If you take out the 37,000, what's the monthly cash flow?
You take out the 37,000 with no renovations, it's 550 a month.
That's a really good cash on cash. But yeah. So I mean, we obviously we have kind of have a pipeline of properties going at the moment that I just kind of scooped that one out of there. Um, the next week kind of begin calling agents, calling sellers, um, asking more questions about the condition of the property, like how old is the roof, for example. That's a pretty big one. Um,
Yeah, I would prioritize asking the property manager and contractors.
Okay.
Because if
Doing
you
a
don't
lot of
have a team to execute on your deal, then it doesn't matter what you put in a spreadsheet. It's going to be super stressful for you. That's what I would think through.
wouldn't a lot of like the contractors we use that would be through our property manager though, right?
No, not necessarily. You could probably have your own contractors and send them in to do your own jobs and stuff like that.
Okay.
Right.
One of the
And
other uh, property managers I talked with in Florida, maybe they were at a no, this is one of the Cleveland ones. I forget the name of them, but they said that they would just like kind of use a contractor, and then they would obviously not without our consent. We would have to find out what's going wrong, what we would have to repair, etc. And then they would like kind of use their contractor, and then they'd bill us afterwards.
yeah, they
Um,
usually mark it up a little bit in that
yeah,
scenario.
yeah, probably.
Should that be a scenario for you, or you can try to figure out, hey, if you really are committed to Cleveland or Rochester, then I think it's in your interest to at least get two or three quotes. Like, hey, if I want to paint this entire house, how much does it cost you? Maybe it's not $3 a square foot. Maybe it's $2 a square foot. Right? Those are all the decisions that you can make. And at the very minimum, it gives you an outlet. Like you should probably have a 2 to 3 property managers, right? Because what if the first one you really hate and they're doing a terrible job, right? So
Yeah. And then we just gotta get rid of them, go to the next one. One of the questions I have that I ask property managers is, you know, what if we want to, get rid of you guys after 6 months? Are we beholden to using, your management company, with our contract with them as well? So I
mhm.
have like 25, 30 questions I usually um, either ask them or over the phone or I email them.
Yeah. Ask them their vacancy, or I mean, ask them the occupancy, and then ask them like how many units that they manage, and then ask them like how long does it take to turn over a unit, blah blah blah. And you see whether or not they're telling you the truth or not. So yeah, was this helpful, man? It's what you expected. You just got to play around the numbers, and you can make the numbers
Yep.
whatever you want it to make. Right? That's what it comes
Mhm.
down to at the end of the day. I know you don't want to be a slumlord, and I'm very thankful that you made that statement. It makes me
Yeah.
feel good about helping you. Just just understand. The more love you put in an area, you might attract a better resident. But at the same time, your neighborhood's also a big determinant. If you doesn't matter if you make it really, really nice, but you're still in an area where there's like boarded up homes like right behind you and the shootings across the street, then it's not the best area, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
and
Well,
then
also, I mean, if we do
yeah,
a little bit of fix up, we'll definitely gain a little bit of equity, and since we'll be paying straight interest, we'll really build that up faster.
correct.
So if we want to roll that
Correct.
equity into other properties, there we go.
Yeah, right. You got some shattered windows right up there, right behind your
Yikes!
house.
Yeah,
So you get people getting broken into. Your insurance claims might go up. Your costs might go up for insurance policy. So lots of ways for your cash flow to be eroded. But again, there's a strategy that works for everyone. In every market, there's someone successful. So if you can figure out which realtor works with investors really well, and they have a lot of contractors that works with realtor like areas very well, like then you can find, hey, maybe it's street by street, right? I had a GC from St. Louis come on to the podcast not that long ago. I mean, not St. Louis, Kansas City, and he literally tells me, "Hey, that street is okay, but that street after that, people are literally shooting at each
okay.
other." Right? So that's the type of qualifications that you really want to kind of set up. And once you set up your team, you might be on a roll if you have a great team that you know can execute on your deals really quickly with renovations and property management
Yeah.
setup and marketing and everything.
So what type of usually like top half crime score do you look at? Like what's kind of the average for some of your properties?
100. I mean, I live in an area where it's like 90. I lived in areas
Okay.
where it was 120. So you have to understand, like, usually when you're a big metropolis, because you're in downtown, you might get a big concentration of crime in this one area, but it affects the crime data for the entire zip code. Nothing is ever going to
Oh,
beat the vibe of the neighborhood just doing street view, right? Sometimes street views can be very misleading. Maybe that property has already been renovated and flipped, and now it's beautiful, right? The one that I saw you that's boarded up. I don't know.
mhm.
But the best indication is for you as a realtor, a GC, property manager, and handyman. If anyone that says, "Hey, I don't go over there," that's a big red flag, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that, to be honest with you.
Mm.
Especially if this is your
Okay.
first one, do something that's a little bit more top and right. There's multiple ways to make money in real estate. You can wholesale, you can fix and flip, or you can buy and hold. And sometimes we buy and hold not just for depreciation and depreciation and cash flow, but it's also for the story. If you're playing the long game because you're so young, someone's having a great story, helping someone, placing someone in a beautiful home might help you with your own personal branding even more.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. I was also thinking about wholesaling some sub two deals,
Yeah, you
like a
can do
lot of
that
one.
too.
Yeah, like ones that would work for like short term rentals, for example. Um, yeah, and two of my two people I know actually run a transaction coordination company. So they would help me like, and they're actually wholesalers as well, so they'd help me dispo it. Um, and yeah, so that's kind of another thing I could do. But yeah, basically for the company with my partner, we're thinking about getting some Section 8 properties. Got a like pipeline like 50 of those. But yeah, I definitely really appreciate all the information. I'm definitely gonna use that Top Hat website. Um, and then maybe we'll do some Airbnbs as well. My partner knows a lot about that, and also Airbnb subletting or Airbnb arbitrage, rental arbitrage is a
Hmm.
ton of different names. That's like you don't actually have to own it, and you can get a pretty good rate of return.
Cool. All right, let me stop recording. Thanks everyone for joining live.